My aunt's house was bigger than I remembered, but still nowhere near big enough. Her internet home delivery business, Beautyline, had been a huge success, and even with the old barn building full of stock, I found that we were only able to live in a few rooms. My mother had received a cry for help from Aunt Gabby, and as I was out of a job she had volunteered me. It meant moving to Gainsborough and living and working in the big old homestead just out of town. Initially I was just boxing up product for dispatch, but it became clear where my aunt was really short. The house was almost completely surrounded by parkland and woods. It had been a rural area, but Gainsborough had expanded, and outside the shelter of the trees a large industrial estate had been established. This was useful for the business as product, packaging and transportation were near at hand. In reality, the business ought to have been located in that industrial estate, with a warehouse allowing easy processing and packing of orders. But my aunt had resisted the suggestions of others in that direction. For her, the relationship with the consumer had to be personal. Her business depended on direct contact with her customers, some of it by email live chat, but also by voice. Her easy style and complete knowledge of her beauty and ladies' products was what made the sales and the return business. Her reputation had grown by word of mouth, and she now had a total inability to service her existing clientele without even considering new customers. "If only I had a niece that my sister could have sent me," she teased. The products were exclusively for women. But I wanted to help. She started by suggesting that I handle some of the live chat. With all my gaming experience, I was handy with a keyboard faster than her, and she could bring me up to speed with the products and the patter. I worked a few text-only chats as Joe, product consultant. I made some sales, and my aunt paid me commission on top of the rather meager wage she was paying me for general work. It was clear to see that if wanted to make some real money, I would need to make more sales. But the limitation with chat is that when the customer asks to speak to Joe, I have to type in that my microphone is down, or I have laryngitis, or anything to avoid a voice conversation. My aunt did most of her large sales, and developed most of her long-term customers, over the phone. And my aunt also pointed out that in a phone conversation I needed to have a much greater knowledge of the product. I needed to be able to speak from experience. Typing in product features and a little sales patter would not cut it in a conversation. They would ask, and you had to answer, and be believed. But I was willing to give it a try. If only I could develop a woman's voice. So, I did. I googled how to speak like a woman, and I got results mainly from transgender support sites, with YouTube training videos. I worked on it in the evenings. My aunt could hear me trilling to get higher notes, and she was encouraging. However, she said, you still need to develop some feminine experience to speak from. She knew that knowledge of the product was not enough. She suggested that I try some of the soaps and soap substitutes, the moisturizing creams, eye creams and other face treatments, the acid peel, body lotions, and something called depilation treatment. I tried everything, some stuff without even checking with her. She even had a line of skin conditioning tablets which were expensive, so a big commission earner. I took a course of those too just so I could endorse them from first-hand experience, and hopefully make a sale. It seems a little crazy now that I did all of this without much thought. I just wanted to be a good salesperson. I wanted to help my aunt, keep the business together for her, and make money. I also trialed the hair products. My hair was not in good condition. It was longish when I arrived, and I never bothered to get it cut, so it was perfect to trial the products. When I used the straightening formula, the volumizers and the special shampoos, my hair began to look completely different. It was soft and shiny, and there just seemed to be so much more of it. I took my product assessments seriously. I made notes. I spent hours in my room at night rehearsing sales routines in my girl's voice. It was not before I was ready to take the phone. I started to receive calls and to talk about the marvelous positive effects of our products. I picked up a lot of phrases and mannerisms from my aunt. Then I picked up even more from my customers, especially those around my age. None of my customers had any idea they were talking to a man. I had plenty of customers after only a few weeks. Once I had satisfied myself that I sounded totally like a girl, I just could not stay off the phone. I liked to talk. The trick is to sound chatty but put a limit on the time you spend. Sometimes that means finding an excuse to end the call. But never put the phone down without closing a sale or having a basis to close it later. My desk got busier and busier. I had order forms piling up. But it was exhilarating. Aunt Gabby said, "You need to try the Miracle Bun Builder to keep that hair out of the way." She had bought the rights to it, so there was good money in the sales. So I tried it, followed the simple instructions. It worked really well and kept my hair out of the way while I worked. I ended up recommending it many of my phone customers. After those first weeks, Aunt Gabby said that we would need to hire somebody to do the parcels, freeing me to be in sales full-time. She would still pay me base wages, but I was making heaps in commissions, so that barely counted. That was when things started to get a bit weird. The first applicant for my old job came to the door and I greeted him. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Okay, so the t-shirt was one of my aunt's range, so it had a floral pattern. But I was otherwise dressed as a guy. But stupidly, I had my hair up clipped with the Miracle Bun Builder. And more stupidly, I had been talking as Joe all day, and when I reached out my hand I said, "Hi there, I'm Joe," but it came out as Joe, not Joe. The applicant smiled at me and said, "Well, I hope we'll be working together." There was no mistake in what he was thinking. It was all over his face. He was thinking I was a girl. Worse still, I know I blushed. What I should have done was to lower my voice and explain that I was not a girl and he should stop flirting with a guy. But I didn't do that. I didn't lower my voice. I just told him to wait while I got my aunt. Stupid me. I was just confused, I guess. Maybe a little surprised, or even shocked, or flattered. The truth is that I had been so tied up with selling that I had not set foot off the property in weeks. My work clothes were out of stock, and my face was a virtual advertisement for what beauty products can do, even to a male. If I hoped my aunt would clear up Jeff's confusion, but I would be disappointed. She told me that Jeff was perfect for the job. He had assumed that I was her daughter, and she had corrected him. "That's my niece," she told me she had said. "Why, Aunt Gabby? Why would you say that?" If you want to explain why my best salesperson to women is a boy pretending to be a girl, then I leave that up to you. You are here because you are family, but I don't like deceit, and the less people that know about it, the better. Clearly my aunt was suggesting that I should keep it a secret that I wasn't a girl. What a crazy idea! While I thought I did a great job pretending to be a girl over the phone, it never dawned on me that I could be mistaken for a girl in person. But as my aunt pointed out, it was the skin and the hair. The products really were that good. My skin was soft, hairless, and without blemish. The color was pale as could be expected from a guy who spent too much time in front of his computer, but had an almost luminous quality. I really liked the way it looked and felt. My hair was abundant and with the various treatments had acquired a light color and a sheen, not to mention the floral perfume from roots to tips. I liked my hair too. With the Miracle Bun Builder I kept it up while I worked, but in the evening I let it down and brushed it using another of our products, the glossing brush. So she offered Jeff the job. What was I going to do now? I had to share the workplace with somebody who thought I was a girl, without me even trying to look like one. My aunt suggested that if I was going to spend more time on the female side. As it happened, she had been approached by a cosmetics company to distribute a whole range of new products. She had been confined to skin and hair, but now that my work in sales had relieved her of time on the phones, she was looking at taking more on. The new products included foundation, blushers, highlighters, mascara, eyeliners, shadow tones, and lipsticks. This was a whole new range to sell, and something that I had never dreamed of trialing. Using them and talking to my customers from experience, it seemed that makeup just crossed the line somehow. It was just too girlish. But hadn't I already crossed that line? As it happened, when Jeff started the following Monday, I was full on selling makeup over the phone. No. Our mascara is different. It really has fibers in that physically lengthen and strengthen your lashes. It's so easy. I'm applying some right now while I'm talking. And I was. I batted my eyelashes at Jeff to show him. I motioned to him that I would be free in a few minutes, and just kept on talking. You'll try some? Great. I will add it to your consignment. I took that order over to Jeff to show him how things worked. We had a system: orders converted to invoices and packing lists, goods packaged up before payment was confirmed, then dispatch on payment. He followed my every gesture like a puppy on training day. When he had gone home, I decided that my aunt and I needed to talk about things were going. I had learned that selling is about not just knowing the product but experiencing it. I had sold skin and hair products that worked for me. Now that I was using makeup, I was making sales. What else could I sell? We were developing a good clientele, but could we grow products as well? Aunt Gabby felt that we needed to stick with our health and beauty theme. Then she had an idea and rummaged through her card folder for a card. This guy came to see me a few days before you got here. He has a line of ladies' intimate apparel. Some lingerie, but also support garments. Perhaps you should follow this up. His name was Ben Hamlin. I called him the following day and he offered to come up from the city on Friday to meet me. He gave me a bit of background. It was a family business and he was just helping out while finishing his studies. He had helped with a website, but what was needed was to secure access to an existing database of female customers who bought online. In other words, us. Honestly, to that point I still wore jeans and t-shirts almost every day. Since Jeff had started, I had taken to wearing Daisy Duke shorts that I had fashioned myself out of older jeans. I have no idea why I wore them. It meant that I needed to keep my legs hairless and tanned, which was not so natural for me. I guess I just liked to watch Jeff's face when I walked up to him in my shorts. My aunt told me that for a business meeting I would need something corporate to wear, so she took me shopping. She decided that a dress was appropriate. But I would need underwear to give me a shape, and shoes with a heel as well. I was fully prepared by Friday. Ben called at the house late on Friday morning. I went down to the door in my new outfit. When we saw one another, I swear that there was a moment. He was young, maybe only a year or two older than me, and very good looking. Now, I am no queer, but there was something in him that I connected with. It was not the way he looked, but the way he looked at me. I think anybody could be affected by a look like that, regardless of their sexual orientation. There was a clumsy exchange while I invited him in and showed him the operation. We sat and talked for a while about more than just the business, and then he asked me to go to lunch with him. Lunch? I checked the clock and we had been talking for almost 2 hours. I had a lot on and was going to call time on the meeting, but he gave me a pleading look and I agreed. We spent another 2 hours talking over a great meal in town. I suppose you think that it is a bit strange for a guy to be involved in women's intimate apparel, said Ben. I could only smile at the irony. It is the family business. So I guess I was brought up in a house full of clothes and fashion magazines. To be honest, I have never been that interested in fashion, I said. I was sort of a tomboy, I guess. I still am. I wear jeans almost every day. I just put a dress on for you. You have the ideal shape for a dress, he said, in a manner that made the compliment sound like fact. If you don't mind me saying so, you would look even better with something cut a little differently. I will listen to the expert, I said with a warm smile. The moment I said the words and delivered the look, I knew that I was flirting. I can say that there was no intention to do it, but that would not be true. On some level, I wanted him to be interested in me, to be attracted to me, to desire me. I told my aunt that I had agreed to trial a line of products. Ben was to send samples for us to try and have some stock packaged on approval for selling. They were like a bustier in nude material, strong to hold shape but perforated to breathe easily. Edges were padded but in a way that they would not be visible under any but the tightest dress. My aunt and I decided to wear them straight away, but as I took my top off, my aunt took notice of my chest. It seems that you are growing breasts, my dear, she observed. I checked myself in the mirror and saw to my horror that she was right. I had noticed irritation in my nipples for weeks, but now I had 2 definite lumps. How is this possible? I exclaimed. I'm afraid it must be the skin conditioning tablets, she said. If you read the label, you will see that the active ingredient is a synthetic estrogen. It is just to improve skin condition, but I guess it could promote breast growth. It's just that it is intended to be for women only. So, will these go if I stop taking the pills? I asked. I am not sure, she said. It might be hard to make flesh disappear. It may need surgery. I am sorry, sweetheart. Not a welcome side effect for a boy, but on the positive side, your skin condition is beautiful. She was right. I looked at myself in the mirror. We both put on the new garments. With them came some gel pads for added shape. With 2 pads in each cup, the extra flesh on my chest could be pushed into a real cleavage. I looked again. The new shape was stunning, a real womanly figure with breasts. At this point, any normal man would have recoiled in horror, but I did not. I liked this shape. When I put a sundress over the top and put my hair up, I liked the look. The pudgy, spotty, whiskered boy was no more. The person looking back at me was Joe, pretty, confident, successful salesperson, management material on the rise, admired by men, respected by women for knowledge in health and beauty matters. Happy. I doubled down. I contacted the supplier of the pills and picked up a supply of drugs that would enhance breast growth by suppressing all male hormones and flooding my body with only the female kind. The effects were rapid and amazing. At about this time, I had some glamour shots taken and my image went on the site alongside my aunt. Her clientele was predominantly middle-aged, but the caption with the image read, "My niece Josephine started her skin and hair care routine while young, the secret to lasting beauty." Almost overnight, our market grew dramatically. I became the youthful face of the brand. Ben was thrilled with the rapid growth and started to look for more clothing products to suit the new market, things like training and sports bras and support garments targeted at young women. Then there was the potential for outer garments. Following Ben's advice, and with his support, I started to learn more about clothes and styling for a complete look. The fact became apparent that beauty is not just about skin and hair and a little makeup, it comes from presentation. That means the whole package. And every woman is their own package. I found myself talking to my customers online and giving style advice, not just hair and skin routines. I would always say, "I'm no expert, but my hints seemed to work," and I was always thanked. I started to find my own style. It was relaxed, natural, modern, and very feminine. Somehow that was just who I was these days. I had no idea where it came from. I guessed that the products that I was selling were about natural beauty, and my makeup was about showing off my best features rather than painting some on. My clothes were about showing the shape that I had developed, and favored my surroundings, color, floral patterns, lace trimmings. There was no trace of who I had once been anywhere in my look. And I was glad of it. Ben was a regular visitor, and it became clear that he was interested in me sexually or romantically or hopefully both. I say that I hoped, because I did. It never occurred to me that I had become gay. When we were together, nobody would ever have suggested this was a relationship between two men. The first time he kissed me, I never gave a moment's thought to the fact that there was a penis tucked away in my panties. I felt so completely a woman in his arms that I just shut out that reality. That kiss was my turning point, and also, in a strange way, the turning point for the business. Ben's ladies' intimate apparel was a success, in particular the figure-forming items. But more importantly, he and his family decided to invest in Beautyline, and he would be moving to Gainsborough to be at the center of distribution. Because Ben and I were at the heart of the expansion, we were both offered direct ownership in the business. Papers were drawn up for a new company with my aunt and I each owning 25%, and Ben and his family each owning 25%. We were to steer the business. But on the day of signing, Ben was going through the papers and asked the very simple question, "Who is Joseph Palliser?" "That's me," I said, as if it were nothing at all. I can remember the look on Ben's face, confusion, then realization, the pain. It was as if I had just pulled out a giant dagger and plunged it into his guts. All that desire was now turned to disgust. I just burst into tears and ran away. But it was too late to undo things. We were already in possession of the huge warehouse that we had leased on the nearby industrial estate, and new stock was on the way in. We were both hurting, but he did his best to avoid me, and I did my best to show that I did not care. We sent emails to one another, even though we had adjoining offices. But somehow, I knew that he could not get me out of his system. Then a few weeks after the signing, I decided that a confrontation was called for. I had received a sample of product being pushed to us for distribution. It was a hair curling kit with solution and tools. With my aunt's help, I did my hair in big bouncy curls. It was getting towards summer, so I wore a floral dress with a plunging neckline to show off my breasts, which were close to my full size by then. Although I did not usually wear heels around the warehouse, that day I had on wedge sandals that turned my walk into a sachet and made my legs look a mile high. Ben was alone in the testing room. I had glass partitions so he could see me walking down the hall towards him, legs on display, curls bouncing, a determined look on my face. I entered the room and I was going to say, "Ben, we need to talk about how to talk." I only got the first 4 words out, and then his mouth was on mine, his tongue almost face-raping me. His hands were in my hair and my hands were clawing his back, begging for more of what I was getting. It was pure passion. Some of the staff were on the office level and could see everything. I thought I heard Jeff cheer, but then again, my mind was only on one thing: how were Ben and I going to make love? I had never been medically diagnosed with any gender identity disorder, so I had to go to Bangkok to make it happen. Somebody needed to run the business, so my aunt went over with me and she and Ben traded places on the day of my surgery. That meant that I was reintroduced to my man as a woman. He was with me through recovery, but it would take weeks to be ready for sex. Just before we came home, we had a few days at a resort in Krabi and Ben proposed. What could be more romantic? On the beach under the coconut palms with the diamond glinting in the tropical sunset. How can a girl say no? The house that housed the business is now a house again. The barn has been converted into a cottage for my aunt so that she can make room for Ben and myself and our adopted family to live in the sprawling homestead. Our warehouse is on the other side of the wood, only a pleasant walk away for both of us. Our bed in our house was where we first had sex. I admit it was before we married, neither of us could wait. But by the day of our wedding I was fully conditioned so that the consummation of our vows was a moment of pure ecstasy. My sex life as a boy had been largely internet masturbation. I was now able to lie back as my lover vigorously worked me to orgasm. There is simply nothing like it. My parents and older brother attended the wedding. They found the total change in me difficult to accept, but Ben charmed them. If they had wanted a son with everything going for him, their son-in-law would be that person. They adore him as much as I do. And now they have our children to love as well. My bridesmaid was Jessica, previously Jeff. It was only a matter of time before he was looking to advance in the business, and that meant moving to sales. And, as my Aunt Gabby and I agree, selling is about not just knowing the product but experiencing it. If you want to be successful in selling women's health and beauty, you should be a woman.